When Cnut died in 1035, his North Sea dominions began separating almost immediately. England, Denmark, and Norway had acknowledged one ruler, yet they did not form a permanent unified state. This was the closest historical candidate for a Viking empire spanning several major kingdoms. Its rapid fragmentation exposes the limits hidden inside that impressive map. Before calling it an empire, the label itself requires testing against institutions, identities, and duration. Viking was an activity or social category in many contexts, never the name of one united nation. Scandinavia contained competing rulers, assemblies, districts, ports, households, and regional loyalties. Overseas armies and settlements pursued separate opportunities from Ireland to the eastern rivers. Shared language and religious traditions could support communication without producing common government. A map of Scandinavian movement therefore shows connection, not automatic sovereignty. That visual grammar borrows from later colonial empires with borders, capitals, and centralized commands. Viking Age power worked through personal allegiance, tribute, ships, landholding, kinship, and negotiated recognition. Authority could be formidable while remaining dependent upon a ruler's presence and reputation. Successful kings assembled realms, but succession repeatedly reopened their political bargains. The earliest large Scandinavian conquests overseas did not create one command structure. The Great Army campaigned across Anglo-Saxon kingdoms during the later 9th century. Its leaders coordinated forces, divided, negotiated, wintered, and pursued different territories. Scandinavian-controlled regions in England developed varied political and legal arrangements. Historians use Danelaw as a useful label, though it was not an empire with a central Viking bureaucracy. York became a royal center where rulers issued coins and competed for authority. Those kings did not govern Dublin, Normandy, Iceland, and the Rus as provinces. Connections across the Irish Sea linked elites and markets, but control shifted frequently. Dublin's Scandinavian rulers entered Irish alliances and rivalries that followed local political realities. In Francia, Rollo's descendants built Normandy through accommodation with Frankish kings and regional elites. Their polity soon became Christian and French-speaking rather than a Western department of Scandinavia. Eastern travelers helped shape Rus networks and ruling groups within a multicultural environment. No Danish or Norwegian monarch administered Kiev as an imperial colony. Icelandic settlers established assemblies without submitting to one Scandinavian emperor. Greenlandic communities depended on households, local leadership, church structures, and distant trade. Archaeology makes the contrast visible through objects that traveled farther than institutions. Islamic silver reached Scandinavia through Eastern exchange, involving many communities and intermediaries. Weights and scales reveal commercial practices, not membership in an imperial economy. Similar ornaments can spread through trade, imitation, migration, or marriage. Ship technology enabled distant action but supplied no permanent chain of command. Even runic inscriptions shared across regions record individual patrons and local commemorations. Cultural resemblance must not be mistaken for political unity. The best early case for consolidation belongs inside Scandinavia itself. During the 10th century, Danish royal power left striking monuments at Jelling. Harald Bluetooth's Great Runestone proclaimed achievements involving Denmark, Norway, and Christianization. The inscription is contemporary royal messaging, not an impartial survey of effective control. Its ambitious wording demonstrates what Harald wished audiences to recognize. Large circular fortresses, including Trelleborg and Forkbeard, reveal coordinated construction under strong authority. Dendrochronology places key building activity within Harald's reign during the late 10th century. Standardized layouts suggest royal capacity to mobilize resources and labor across Denmark. They do not prove continuous rule over every Scandinavian district or overseas settlement. Political unification was a project under construction, not an inherited Viking constitution. Resistance within Denmark and changing control of Norway exposed its instability. Harald's son Sweyn Forkbeard pushed royal ambition across the North Sea. After prolonged campaigning and English political crisis, Sweyn became King of England in 1013. He died only weeks after achieving that conquest. His death forced supporters and opponents to renegotiate authority before unity had become routine. Cnut eventually secured England in 1016 after warfare against Edmund Ironside. English administrative traditions gave the conqueror resources unavailable through a roaming fleet alone. Coinage, taxation, shires, law, bishops, and landed elites made durable government possible. Cnut retained much of that machinery while rewarding followers and managing aristocratic competition. His coins present a Christian king through established English monetary conventions. Nothing on them announces an emperor of a universal Viking people. Rule over Denmark connected Cnut's English kingdom to his Scandinavian dynasty. He later gained authority in Norway and exercised influence around the Baltic. Modern scholars sometimes call this collection the North Sea Empire. The phrase captures scale, but it can imply more integration than surviving evidence demonstrates. Cnut governed through several kingdoms with their own laws, elites, churches, and political expectations. Royal letters and ecclesiastical patronage placed him firmly within Christian European kingship. His pilgrimage to Rome in 1027 displayed relationships with the emperor, pope, and other rulers. That journey contradicts any image of an isolated pagan conqueror ruling by force alone. Marriage to Emma of Normandy tied his dynasty to English and continental claims. Regional deputies and trusted earls managed authority when the king crossed the sea. Ships carried messages, treasure, warriors, and royal presence, but weather and distance constrained coordination. Subjects encountered Cnut's rule through local courts and lords, more often than through a transmarine administration. His dominion was therefore personal, composite, and negotiated. They do explain why succession threatened the entire construction. Cnut's sons did not preserve the same combination of kingdoms. Norway broke away under Magnus the Good, while struggles divided Denmark and England. Harthacnut briefly ruled both Denmark and England before dying in 1042. Edward the Confessor then restored the West Saxon royal line in England. Within 7 years of Cnut's death, his central North Sea combination had vanished. An empire capable of surviving rulers usually needs repeatable succession and institutions spanning its parts. Cnut's realm never demonstrated that level of integration. Other famous conquerors fit the imperial claim even less securely. Harald Hardrada ruled Norway and campaigned for Denmark before invading England in 1066. His ambitions were extensive, but failed conquest is not evidence of an existing empire. Later, saga narratives gave kings coherent careers shaped for literary effect. They cannot supply administrative unity absent from contemporary records. The word empire may still serve comparative analysis if defined carefully. It could describe unequal domination across peoples and territories under a paramount ruler. By that broad standard, Cnut's dominion possessed imperial features. If the term requires a unified Viking state directing all Scandinavian expansion, no example qualifies. One asks whether Vikings everywhere belonged to a political whole. They did not, and their conflicts with one another make that conclusion unavoidable. The other asks whether a Scandinavian conqueror ever assembled a multinational composite monarchy. Cnut did for a short period through conquest and existing royal institutions. Calling his realm Viking emphasizes origin and warfare while obscuring Christian governance and English administration. Calling it an empire emphasizes breadth while disguising regional autonomy and fragile succession. The most accurate description is a North Sea dominion held together by Cnut's kingship. Its unity lived in one dynasty's political relationships rather than a shared imperial state. A coin from Cnut's England brings the test back to ordinary government. It circulated because local mints, recognized designs, controlled silver, and royal authority continued functioning. The object proves effective kingship in England, not direct administration of every distant Scandinavian community. Cnut came nearer than any contemporary to ruling a North Sea empire. No ruler ever transformed the Viking world into one empire, and his coinage quietly shows why.